many animal lovers do we have in the audience tonight? I've loved animals for as long as I can remember. Fish, cats, horses, ladybugs, it didn't matter. I always knew I would dedicate my life to taking care of animals in one way or another, and I still identify myself as an animal person. Starting out in this business, I believed that most people were pro-nature and that I only needed to teach them about environmental challenges and they would protect wildlife, right? Well, it's not that easy now. Kids aren't connected to nature the way many of us were years ago. So I'm not sure anymore that the future for wildlife is guaranteed. But Cleveland Metro Park Zoo is addressing issues threatening animals in their wild homes. It's going to take help, though. We need help to protect the fewer than 500 Amur tigers or 4,500 eastern gorillas left on Earth. The responsibility is all of ours to protect wildlife for future generations. My job is to save animals. I don't do it by feeding them. I don't even do it by studying them in the wild. My job is to make sure that there are more of us. My job is to help kids become adults who feel a connection to nature and actively help a future for wild animals. How do I do that? By working with kids to develop a conservation identity. It starts at the most basic level with a class or a camp or an overnight program. Sometimes it starts with a 6-year-old boy getting jazzed about goat or elephant poop. I mean, you gotta start somewhere. But what if all children were like Elliot, who started off at 2 and visited the zoo with his family through a preschool safari program? At that early age, he was even able to compare how different animals felt and form an early connection with furry or scaly animals. If Elliot's going to grow up to care about animals, vote for candidates who value the environment, or become a scientist that cures diseases that plague animals like the giraffe in the wild, research says that he should think of himself as a nature lover or a conservationist. But where will children like Elliot get that opportunity to form such a conservation identity? You got it, by growing up with us at the zoo. At first, they could form bonds with animals by attending our summer day camp from the ages of 3 to 14. And then we added more. We now provide opportunities for all audiences. Chris and the rest of his 5th grade class studied African elephants by watching how they spend their time, what they like to eat, even how much they poop. Again with the poop. And while he learns more about the zoo's elephants, he begins to care about them. He gets attached to Willie or Martika and can't even fathom a world without elephants. He begins to imagine what role he might play in stopping the illegal killing of these majestic animals, killing that's done just so the Chinese or the Americans can display ivory trinkets on their coffee tables. And then there's Grace, who hit middle school and started to think she might want to go to college and work with animals. She can come to the zoo and get a taste of what our veterinarians do. Here, she learns that some of the treatments developed by zoo vets may be useful in helping gorillas in their wild homes of Rwanda. You see, Cleveland Metro Park Zoo is a global leader in gorilla conservation. In fact, as we speak, Dr. Kristen Lucas, our Director of Conservation and Science, is at the University of Rwanda with 2 case grad students. They're teaching the Rwandans research and conservation techniques this week. And Dr. Lucas started out loving animals just like this young guy right here in Cleveland. She grew up in Mentor, formed attachments with nature and animals, and chose to study comparative psychology, a field that focuses on primate behavior. She's dedicated to giving gorillas the best lives possible, both in zoos and in Africa. You know, they say that if by the 8th grade a young person gets turned on by science or decides that he may want to work in an animal-related field, he needs to have access to advanced opportunities that will keep him motivated and excited, and at the same time prepare him for college. That's where our Teen Zoo Crew program comes into play. We interview bunches and choose 100 teens a year, hungry to learn more about animals, and more importantly, hungry to share what they've learned. I have been so impressed with the difference our teens can make when they focus on an issue that's important to them. By this age, our kids identify as stewards or conservationists. 2 years ago, a team decided to find out if a local swimmer's use of sunblock negatively affected Lake Erie. They regularly sampled the water, and they even ended up presenting their results at Bowling Green State University. As it turned out, they learned that other items added to the lake were far more dangerous than the aluminum in the sunscreen. But these kids are super, super motivated. They're going to end up doing some really, really great things as they get older. She may go on to be a doctor and a zoo director, just like our own Dr. Chris Kuchar. And he may end up like Anna Nakaris here, an amazing person who founded the group Little Fireface Project. That's an organization dedicated to stopping the horrible capture of the slow loris in Southeast Asia for our use here in the United States as pets. Or, they may choose a completely different field, but spend their free time like Jim Baguki here at the zoo, introducing the next generation to the amazing, comforting, and awe-inspiring beauty of nature. Me, I chose conservation education as a career and have never, ever regretted it. Every day I get to come to work at a zoo. My goal is to inspire the 1.2 million guests that visit the zoo each year. My job is to save animals. They need us. Are you with me?